If one is healthy, the other one is healthy, period. If one is unhealthy, the other one is unhealthy, period.
And he said, yeah, because this shows that no matter what, if you persevere, you can do it, blah, blah, blah. And he just bought into that leftist, illusory, feminine, idiot children's story, right?
If I set out to become more masculine, right there I failed. You cannot just choose that. You cannot just be like, oh, okay, I'm going to become more masculine. And then you can start like performing in a certain way. But then by virtue that you're doing that, then you are not. Like you have these two sides to things, right? Like the masculine and the feminine, or the left and the right in politics. And when they lose touch with each other, they actually become corrupt, both of them. Very interesting. Because again, it's like one doesn't exist without the other. So the attempt to have one of them in an absolute way and to say like, okay, this is the left without the right is just a lie. It's impossible. So it's not going to happen. And they attempt to do that within themselves, first of all, I believe. And then they corrupt their own side. So people on the left that are not in touch, quite literally, but maybe just intellectually or mentally or whatever, but in touch with the other side, are the people who are corrupting the left, who give it a bad name, are the shitty people from the left, so to put it simply. And exactly the same thing from the right. And what I've noticed that is really weird is that when that happens, they actually become the same too, even though outwardly they might be different, a Christian family or whatever, and they're all nice on the surface. And on the left, you might have like a more like, rock and roll or whatever, stuff that is different on the surface. But when they lose touch with the other side, they become like the same. So the patterns of behavior are the same. So they treat each other shittily in the same ways and in the same hypocritical ways. And they're sentimental in the same ways. And that's something that I observed a lot that boggled my mind a lot, because there's like a reality under the sensible reality, but that is very real. And in that reality, these type of people that were disconnected, so to speak, from the other, were exactly the same, and they were both corrupt. They were both fallen, so to speak.
Yeah, so you're saying the idea of the right is the best, or the left has the best plan. Yeah. This in itself is already a distorted, idiotic idea.
Exactly. It's an impossibility, like literally. It's like you cannot have just the right as quote unquote the best or the left as quote unquote the best. You cannot. It says that if one is healthy, the other one is healthy, period. If one is unhealthy, the other one is unhealthy, period. So, and the solution to heal them is, technically speaking, religion. Not. And by that I don't mean going to church necessarily. In some cases it might be that, but I don't mean that. I don't mean religion as in
you mean
I'm a Buddhist. No.
They have to go to the mosque. You mean?
Yeah, no, I don't mean any of that. but like technically speaking, it's like really got it. Is to actually find yourself in the other, basically. To sincerely, unconsciously make that attempt and then realize it's like, oh wow, we are actually like them. And we are ashamed of it because we're ashamed of ourselves. So that's what both sides do.
Yes. I've certainly been caught up in this a lot, because I've always been sort of engaged with the political realm and aligned with the right wing, and I don't have as much distance as you have. I know what you're saying is true, and I'm getting there slowly, but I'm getting there from the mud itself, right? You are not inside the mud and you're looking at it and you see, oh, this and that,
Well, I
and
came through
I'm
the
in
mud.
it, being an idiot, you know.
Yeah, but I came through the mud in a way because Venezuela was very wild at some point with all the political situation. You could see that dichotomy like very strongly, like very, very strongly. People were like very passionate about it, but sadly, in my opinion, most of the time in the wrong way. Um, I mean, that was one of the ways in which the malady of the society manifested, because a lot of people try to put the order backwards. It's like, oh, the society fails because it's too leftist or because it's too rightist. And it's like, no, no, it didn't. It failed because the people were little shits. Because the people became corrupted and they didn't actually do a sincere attempt to.
But it is possible, right, to become too rightist or too masculine or too, you can
Not
be
really, because
unbalanced.
I would say not really, because if you really do it, like if you become extremely masculine in a truthful way, then you also become extremely feminine. And vice
That's
versa.
true. But if you do it if you like consciously focus on masculinity or femininity or whatever, and only that, and you go that way very far, and you don't want any of the other polarity, you will also become very feminine, but in a
in the bad
weird,
way.
twisted, creepy, toxic way, right? And
Exactly.
you can say it is caused by an excessive focus on one of the two polarities, but I agree with you that it's
Yeah.
not possible to have more of the one without more of the other.
Yes, and I think
Yeah.
what causes it is a hubristic attempt to own it again. It's a hubris because if you think about it, if I set out to become more masculine, that right there I failed. Because again, you cannot like you cannot just choose that. You cannot just be like, oh, okay, I'm going to become masculine, and then you can start like performing in a certain way. But then, by virtue that you're doing that, then you are not. The example that I always give is that if I tell you there's a room here with a closed door, I tell you inside of there's an animal that is acting like an elephant. If you think about it and I ask you what animal that is, it's like, well, if it's acting like an elephant in the more literal sense of the word, in the sense that like an actor acts, it's like if it's acting like an elephant, then I don't know what animal is, but it's not an elephant. Because if it was an elephant, then it's not acting like one. It's just is what it is. So the attempt to become more masculine or more feminine always shoots itself in the foot. And then you do have this weird, twisted things of the men who are very quote unquote masculine on the outside, that they have the male traits, they develop the male traits, which are fine, they're okay, like whatever, physical strength or whatever, what have you. But then they are extremely weak in character, for example. They don't even care about things like virtue, right? They care about stuff that is actually extremely boring and trashy, or sometimes like very low, completely lacking of what I would call heroism, basically, like the masculine like imperative of basically like penetrating the chaos and making beauty out of it, right? And the same with the feminine, like when they try to force their femininity. So, oh, now I'm feminine because I went to the shop and I got my nails done, right? So now I'm feminine. Like they try to force it, they try to hold on to it. Then they become like quite, these naggers that are somewhat like tyrannical, and they lack this perceptiveness that the feminine has and stuff like that.
Yes, I observed this also in usually men that have a lot of physical strength or toughness or whatever. I observed that often these men, the world that they live in or the story that they live in is very feminine. For example, a while ago there was a criminal in America who had a mugshot, and he was very cool, very tough looking, good jaw, very aggressive. He looked very good, and he went viral and blah 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 blah. And after a while, he reacted to it. He was out of jail or something, and I saw a video of him, and he said, "Yeah, because this shows that no matter what, if you persevere, you can do it." Blah blah blah, and he just bought into that leftist, illusory, feminine, idiot children's story, right? Well, his body was so tough, was very well developed in a way, and then and I noticed this trend. It's not one guy. I noticed this a lot. For
really
example, in America, like black people in America are more muscular on average, right? They have more of the physical masculinity on average, but they also vote the most for the Democrat parties and stuff of all the men, right? So I see this trend.
And they are more matriarchal as well, like literally, like they live longer, most of the time forever, under their mama's authority.